music no one can ever refuse it. Pulsating, vibrating, reggae, reggae, reggae. Very sky, rock, steady, mental, a quadrillion, a clumina.
Well, whatever you decide, it's okay. Nothing is bad.
You have lots to tell us, so we can go and listen to what you have to tell us.
Yeah, we have. It's been an amazing journey for me because in the past couple of weeks, I was in the Garifuna village of Labuga, Livingston in Guatemala,
Oh, okay.
And I traveled by boat to that Garifuna village. I've only been there a few times, and it was a beautiful experience because everybody in that village speaks Garifuna. They do not speak English. Yes. So it's only Garifuna or Spanish here and there, but mostly Garifuna, And it was a beautiful experience to be immersed in that.
How's your Garifuna now?
Excellent.
Okay. Wonderful.
And that's something that I love, because to be in a space where only Garifuna is spoken is very unusual. In Belize, we don't do that, And so I didn't expect to be there. The best things that happen are the things that are not planned. So a friend of mine, his mom had died, so I went to give him support. I went to the funeral, So that's how I ended up in Labuga, Livingston, and it was beautiful because we have been doing our tour around Belize, the leaders, indigenous leaders, doing like study tours, And so we crossed there by water. We took a boat to Labuga. And then from there, I had been going through different journeys in Belize. Remember when we connected with the representative for the Organization of American States, different entities. And then I went to Guatemala City, because you have to go to Guatemala City to get a visa to come here. So that's what I did. And then across the Atlantic Ocean to come here. So the past couple weeks have been that kind of pilgrimage, Coming to Germany required my going through US, which is Charlotte, Virginia. Not Virginia, Charlotte, North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, and just crossing the Atlantic Ocean. I always tell people that crossing the Atlantic Ocean, your life will never be the same again. Because there's a kind of energy about doing that,
Okay.
I got to Frankfurt, and then we decided we're going to the UK to spend time with family, and that's when I had the opportunity to go to Stonehenge. Have you been there, Flavors? You know about Stonehenge?
No.
Oh my goodness, Stonehenge. Oh, it's a rock formation. It's very spiritual. It's like going to the center of the earth. It's like a mystery of how these massive stones were formulated. It's like the Maya pyramids in Belize and Central America, and the pyramids in Africa and so on, right? It's that kind of space, And it's like alignment of indigenous architecture in relationship to the sun, the moon, the stars. Oh my goodness, it's like quite an experience. And they had some model houses of how people used to live in those days, right? Way back when, 2500 BC. And then I'm saying to myself, look how these archaeologists come to places like, Belize, and how these people dare to say that we are uncivilized. You know what I'm saying? Because when you look at this, that they live like that, thatch roof, bare wattle and dab, limestone, that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, now I took pictures and I said, guess what happened? Next time they have any conversation about our primitiveness, they don't tell us about that. They don't tell us about how they were so rudimentary and all that. So it was very amazing. And then they had a museum at Stonehenge, which shows the alignment between indigenous people of the world as far as this kind of archaeological, geological findings, you know? Like they were comparing this like to the Zuni people in Central America, in US, and also Peru and different indigenous population having these kinds of alignments. So it was just showing that no matter what part of the world we are, there is a correlation in our indigeneity, you know? So it was very beautiful. Then I went to the Portchester Castle, which is where they had taken 2,500 prisoners of war from the Caribbean, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, um, the Eastern Caribbean islands, because there's a war between the British and the French.
Oh yeah,
That
oh
was
yeah.
1796. And
Saint
those who were
Lucia and
aligned,
yeah.
right, those who wanted to align with the French were taken as prisoners and put up in this place in the UK. Imagine that, having in the bitter cold, you know, packing up these people, crossing them across the Atlantic Ocean. And they had 100 women and children with them. And it is reported that there was a lot of death, of course. 400 and odd died before they arrived, and many of them lost their toes. They were frostbitten because they didn't have proper clothing, proper food, conditions, no plan. There's no plan.
But when you look at how the British live and lived, you can just imagine how poor the conditions were for the prisoners.
Absolutely.
Because
And
they
you know
did
what
not
is
live good at
incredible?
all. Even
That's right. You
in
know what is
recent times.
That's right. And you
You
know
know?
what is incredible, Flavors? Even before the castle, even before that situation, there was a church. There is a church on the compound that was there even before the prisoners were brought in, right? So my question was and is, and I went to visit the church and the cemetery and all that. What was the position of the church at that time when those prisoners were being brought in? How did they treat, were they involved in providing clothing or food or any kind of care? It's a very important study that I think we can look at. And for me, it's a very rich experience in the sense that it's giving me a perspective that I would not have thought about if I had not come here.
Yeah.
And I started reading some books that I had gotten when I was in Trinidad for the United Maroons and Indigenous People Gathering, where we found out that a lot of our information is in archives in Europe. A lot of the story of these missionaries, these church people, these colonial people who came to our area, records. Oh my goodness. If you look at the name, they have a list of the people who were registered as prisoners, right? And also when I was looking at the people who were brought over, not just from Belize, but from different parts of the Caribbean, look at the register and the names, they are familiar with us in terms of our families who are living today. So we've got a lot of work to do in terms of studying our family tree, our genealogy. Where are our people throughout the world? That's an important part of indigeneity that I'm challenging us to look deeper into.
Sophia, you saw the thing I sent you
No.
About your namesake?
About my namesake, Fofier? Another Fofier?
There were four.
No. Did you just send it?
No, man, long. About a week now.
Okay, I'm not remembering then.
Yeah,
But may I just take a moment to greet my sister?
Yeah, man.
Greetings, greetings,
Sacred
greetings.
woman, sister, mother, daughter, auntie. by all the sacred roles we carry and we share. I greet you.
That's right, Nana. Same to you,
So happy
Nana.
to see you in this space. It's been a while. Although we're always in touch, we're not always speaking.
That's right.
Yes.
We're
So
connected.
she
We don't
keeps
have
abreast of everything we do here in Sankofa, you know.
Definitely. It's beautiful.
And so I appreciate the connection. I appreciate the support. I do feel your prayers. I do
Yes,
feel your prayers.
definitely important, very important.
Yes. And so I am happy for all the traveling you're doing and for all that you're seeing, because then you go and, you know, the Akan phrase, "Akuaba," you go, but you come back, and you come back with more than that which you left
Knowledge.
with.
Yes.
And you bring what you have to share, because you know nothing is given to each of us to keep for ourselves.
That's right.
And in the service of community, because that's who we are.
That's
And
who
so
we are.
we do appreciate that we grow together, because we grow one by one and then share.
Expand our knowledge and experience, our learning, our practices. That's so important.
Yes, give thanks for all that you've been sharing. Give thanks for you, for being you, and for following your spiritual mandate to be a speaker, to be a teacher, and to pull all your feminine energies around that. Of course, none of us are only divinely feminine, especially us women. We truly appreciate how we move with our masculinity and femininity in the times when we need to be and in the times when we need to do. So I really am appreciative of your efforts to travel all over the place. Let me tell you, I'm glad they didn't ask me to do that.
It's a calling. I have to be obedient. Yeah, you know, it's a calling. I have to be obedient.
I'm supposed to stay here and hold things together.
That's what we're very clear. So we're very clear.
Certainly thank you for being the one out there doing all that you're doing, you know, going around, opening your mind, opening your spirit to all that you hear and all that you see.
Yes.
Choosing to see what is relevant to us. You talked just now about the French Revolution, because that's what that war was. It was part of that whole bigger movement of the French Revolution. And sometimes we speak about that in isolation, not imagining that impacted the Caribbean spaces in so very many powerful ways. Even from the simple thing of you know, people gaining new spaces, these colonial people annexing lands and, you know, making their false claims on ownership and possession. You know, we always had possession, but they were claiming ownership. And so, you know, in that space where we were so impacted and where we played a vital role, sometimes we forget about interconnectedness. We forget that what happens in that place affects us here. And I think you're certainly making that very real by even physically connecting and spiritually connecting with these places, walking on that land, going into those spaces where our ancestors walked before us. I'm grateful. I'm totally in gratitude for all that you do in that way, for all that you seek to find, all that you seek to find.
And that is so true. The beautiful thing is that it's not planned. It's just moving with the flow and the calling of the ancestors. You know, it's not a project or a program or a plan.
Yes. But Bethany, please allow me to disagree with you, my sister, because the biggest plans are the plans made by spirit.
That's what I mean. It's not planned by my human self. That's what I mean.
That's correct. But there are plans. There are blueprints out there that we know nothing of. And
that's true.
Only obligation is that when what is revealed, we pack our bags and we take for ourselves, or we stay for our residences, our spaces where we connect with spirit and do what it is we're being guided to do. But the plans are enormous. The plans are everlasting.
You are correct. I hear you. I agree.
Thank you for allowing me to greet.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah.
You can what I'm saying is that
still greet.
So what do you say, Courtney?
I say you could continue with your greetings. You know, I love the conversation, and you know, it's like in line with the topic of female leadership in the indigenous space. So
World, yeah.
But even that is not even a conversation because females lead everywhere they are.
Oh yes, we know that. Yeah, that's for sure.
So I don't know how we make a conversation of that. We're just doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Following the plan of spirit.
That's right. That's
And
right.
not reneging on our contract as we're so tempted to do in what is called this modern time, that being such a misnomer. As if you can separate this time from all the other spaces and times of time. There's no separation. So what is modern is truly infused and fed by what is considered to be not modern. And it's probably a greater part of what is modern than what is modern. So we're confusing ourselves to a certain extent with these words. But this is English language, of course. It is a confusing language. It is not our confusing to us because it's not our mother tongue, it's not how we're taught to think, how we've been taught to evaluate, how we've been taught to see our cosmology, how we've been taught to shape our worldview. When you start using other people's language, you start vibrating in a certain way like those people. And a great effort has to be made to shift, sometimes even without shifting the language, to shift back into what is your vibration and the vibrational space of your ancestors and your deities. So it's a complex kind of conversation. It's to me, sometimes I get so disappointed, I get so upset, I get so angry that I do not speak. And it's not for want of trying that I do not speak fluently any of the languages of my ancestors. I speak a language that I find burdensome. I speak a language that does not now coincide in terms of meanings of words with the meanings I know my ancestors would have liked me to know in terms of how I use a particular word. If I were using that word in their language, the meaning would be completely different. I talk about the word I know. And I always use this example in my group. I said, among Deccan people, if you're sitting somewhere and somebody walks up to you and say, oh, you shouldn't be sitting there. And you say, I know, that person would probably just implode because Ike cannot understand that you would know, say you know, but you're sitting there. It's bizarre. Yeah. It's just plain simple bizarre. That's your first step into insanity. And so we're using a language where meanings are not really meanings. The language doesn't mandate us. The language is not part of how we see the world in terms of what these words are supposed to mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But again, it is all very relevant to indigenous space where language supported cosmology, where language supported ways and cultural ways of being and how we thought and how we spoke and how we behaved, So it's not lost. And women are also carriers of these memories, carriers of how we nurture the reestablishment of some of these ways in our indigenous spaces and communities today. The world is not meant to speak one language. You look a lot around among the Black people of the world, you see how many different languages are spoken.
Oh yeah, lots and lots of them.
I've been in one country, met one man who spoke about 9 languages, one man. Starting with the language in the space he was born, the language from his mother's village, the language from his father's village, just to start with. And then when into school, they taught him English. And then he had lived in some other places and learned those languages too. That's one human being. And we're here thinking that we should only be speaking the language of colonial people. So we're just...
to go now, Courtney?
Yeah, well, we could just continue and use this as a show, a conversation. With indigenous,
no problem.
Yeah, sure.
I was so touched just now when Sister Cynthia said she went to the space and all they were speaking was the Garifuna language. I felt that in my gut.
Oh yeah.
I felt that vibration in the depths of my being. I felt that vibration because that's one of the big steps to sovereignty. Yeah, remember, that's one of the big
nice.
that were done to us first. Our language was taken. Our names were taken as part of taking language. So when we start restoring and start going back to who we are, going into who we were, and who we are supposed to be, when we start reclaiming our language, that's just such a powerful step. And I think if I was in that space, I've just dissolved into just absolute tears of joy and gratitude. I don't know what to do with myself.
Of course, and I'm inviting everyone to have the experience because it's a very powerful and beautiful one. And when I arrived, the sisters were braiding my hair. So language is not only what comes out of your mouth, but the actual braiding. I entered into the home and I was welcomed and asked if I wanted something to eat. It was prepared. It is just the whole protocol of being Garifuna, being indigenous. What is mine is yours, what is yours is mine. I felt at home, sitting down there while she was braiding my hair, preparing the food, presenting the food, and whatever the family could offer. It was not a fancy, extensive place, but I just felt I belonged. And I felt that this is a milestone for all of us to go through, to have this reenactment and to reconsider or to rearrange or to realign who we have always been. Even the language of how she dressed, the way how she face of the home was arranged. Everything is a language of its own. Once upon a time when I was younger, I used to feel self-conscious about not speaking Garifuna fluently. And as I matured, I began to realize that language out of the mouth is important, and language out of the heart is just as important, and language out of the spirit is also important. There are things that we cannot define or describe or explain. Like when I went to the Worcester prison, I just dropped on my knees because I felt the energy of all the ancestors who had come there. The spirit was already there. I felt the energy and the power of that, not from a place of devastation, but from a place that I have been called, I have arrived, and I have a torch to carry forward around the world where our people are. We are not just in Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Belize. We are all over the world, and our energy in this historic movement is a beacon for ourselves, for our children, for our generations to come, a celebration and affirmation of who powerful we are. So we throw away these labels and these definitions that the colonizers have put on us. We don't have to embrace that. We have our own sense of self and identity that we must be putting forth with strength, and with determination and with conviction, the resilience. I'm a proud Garifuna woman because my ancestors have called me into this space to be able to redefine and to change the narrative intentionally in a way that it has never been done before. So although we recognize what have been done to us, what has been done to us is what we have done to ourselves and what we need to release and to rearrange moving forward. And as a woman, as a mother and a grandmother, where I have birthed physically many children and grandchildren, it's to continue the birthing and the rebirthing, including men can rebirth too, So this conversation is really deep,
I don't think we realize how deep it is because you've actually touched on some of the conversations we're having here, especially focused on how we go in 2025 and looking at some of the messages that Spirit has brought, and you've touched so many of them just in that short space of time there, that it's just, you know, even just to start with, one of the messages that has come is, and sometimes these are not new, it's just a matter of Spirit inviting us to put a certain emphasis, to pay attention. Powerful message has come through about interconnectedness.
That's right.
How do we not see that we are interconnected, whatever the color of our skin is, whatever the color of our eyes, whatever language we speak? Did God, Creator, really intend that every human being should be the same? Because I question that. Did he make all the other animals the same? Is every dog the same as another dog?
Nope.
Look at the fruits. Are they all the same? Each one is uniquely different, and yet it is a fruit.
Yeah.
Each group of them, whatever they say, this is this type of mango that is number 11, East Indian, St. Julian, all mangoes, but still uniquely different as a group of mangoes, as a community, each one a subset, a sub-community of the greater community we call fruits. So then why would and these examples go on and go on. You have gemstones, you have minerals, all of them called by a general name, but are communities within communities, communities within communities. So why would we think then that we should go out and do something not useful to another human being because they don't look like us, they sound like us, they don't speak like us? Acknowledging that this is really just part of the fascination of creation, part of the framework of creation, I keep saying, is diversity.
That's right. And we are miracles. We are walking miracles in a sense. I mean, I don't like to sound arrogant as a Garifuna person, but when I go into the space, what we endured and what we overcame, it is miraculous that we have our language, our customs, our way of being still, you know, in
Exactly.
all that treachery and trauma that we experience, you know, to stand up at that castle and I mean, feel the cold. I'm wrapped up in shawl and all kind of thing right now. And I'm thinking, what was it like for people to cross that Atlantic Ocean from a warm place and come into this treacherous space physically? Don't mention the way that they were treated, you know, just to think of the physical, environmental conditions that they endured and overcame. We overcame that. And that is something that we can celebrate and be inspired by, that there's something very distinctive and unique about us. There's a universality about us. There is something that we have to be careful not just to dwell on the atrocities of what was done to us, but also to see what we have, who we are, and what we have become. Because then this resilience and this capacity to have transcended all of this in spite of it all, or because of it all, we are a model for the world. And that doesn't mean that just because I'm Garifuna, but whatever name or labels put on us or put on ourselves, Garifuna, Maroon, whatever, Creole.
Yes. Yes.
So, right, it's a oneness that we can begin to birth and rebirth in this reality of who we are. And we look for the common threads. I'm thinking like this year, one of the things we as women can present is cassava, right? All our people are cassava producers and eaters, right? And so I'm thinking we can have a global cassava festival. Because for us, in the Garifuna way of being, it is central and essential to who we are. Cassava we use for everything. We make cassava bread. It's part of our spiritual rituals, and the entire community is involved in the planting, the reaping, the processing of cassava. So I spoke with some women in the United States, and they say, you know, when you get cold seed, because on this panel, I presented the fact that Garifuna are the Gari people. We are people of the cassava. So the people from Africa, the women on the platform say, wow, seriously, we have that too. So it's a common element that brings us together, you know.
Yes.
So I said, well, let's come to Belize and have this cassava festival.
That's correct.
And we enact and reaffirm that.
And again, we're talking about interconnectedness. We're talking about oneness because if I remember correctly, in the assignment of gender to various plants and trees and all of these kinds of things, cassava is considered feminine.
Wow. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's
Absolutely
feminine. So having a feminine activity interwoven with a feminine food, plant, whatever we want to put that is beyond powerful, you know, and the recognition to do that and how we craft that, how we make that happen is really a powerful statement in the space of the need to rebalance the feminine and the masculine. The feminine has been put down for too long, and it's time for, with all that it entails, for that to rise, the feminine aspect of us as human beings, because we all come with all the aspects. It's time for that aspect to rise, come back, regain its nurturing role, because the rest, the human race is sick and dying, and it needs the nurturing back to health, needs that nurturing back into well-being, and that's not going to come powerfully from the men. The men are nurturers, they do that, but we, when you talk about nurturing, we really hold the lead in that. I mean, we're the ones who feed the very men with our breasts after they're born. So yes, they can do it, but you know, it's a different way. If it's they themselves were nurtured by us.
I'm not taking up
and the student
for the men, you know.
teacher, but sorry, do go on.
I say I'm not taking up for the men, but I've been doing a lot of reading in this space, and what I was reading is the brilliance of our people in terms of this so-called climate change conversation, right? Meaning that our people didn't have no compass. We didn't need any compass, yet our people were able to navigate those waters. I'm talking about the Kalinago, the Arawak, whatever name the people put on us, right? Or we put on ourselves, the boats that we are able to build, the paddles. I'm just reading and studying the depth and the capacity of our people navigate those seas in turmoil, in storms. They could look up at the sky and decide whether they were going to go out that particular day. They could dive. We were extreme genius and divers. Even in our Garifuna communities, we have that children diving for conch and for lobster and for shrimp to this day. And even we know where the spots are for the crab. We know where the spots are. When we have our sacred rituals, we know these things. And so university, school has to be redefined according to our term. Somebody told me the other day, when I got this award, I got an award from the United Nations, right? And I was
Congratulations.
Thank you. I told them, listen, I don't need this award. I get it long before the United Nations discovered it. But anyway, I will accept. But I said, so they call me doctor, professor. And I was thinking, are you sure of that? They said, definitely we're sure. Because according to the indigenous way of being and thinking and expression, we need to speak for ourselves, our own identities. We don't need no European, US, or whatever university to declare and define us. Let's define our people according to our genius and our excellence. We are geniuses.
You are reminding me, my sister, of a conversation I shared recently. So in December, we always do a celebration of the Great Jamaican Slave Revolt that was led by Samuel Sharp. Wow. And so I normally, you know the blurb, you probably saw it. We're in the blurb because, you know, when he was made national hero, he was given the title, right, honorable national hero. So I was making the point, he had already been right, he had already been honorable. This is from his
Thank
sense of
you.
right and sense of honor that he started that rebellion. So you're going to make him right honorable after the rebellion when you are making him national leader. What's the foolishness that?
Thank you. And that's it. More and more, I would like us this 2025 to unearth and to excavate the brilliance of who we are with no apologies, with no permission. We want to stop. Yes, we have. I think we have spoken enough about the atrocities that we have endured. I would like to invite us to speak about the beauty and the power of who we are as women, beautiful, graceful women, the different braids and styles. I was reading somewhere that these braidings were maps of how to escape and how to communicate. Different grading, different colors, different fabric, different jewelry. These, we already have our school. Let us declare our way of sharing and teaching not only our children, but ourselves, because it is in our DNA. Let's just begin to bring it out, you know?
It's so profound because we have participated in a serious system of miseducation without even realizing that we threw away the stories. I personally remember in first form high school being told not to write with proverbs. I was told that. I was told that.
Not to write.
How do we not write with the ancient wisdom of our people? To write with proverbs. Proverbs are like a dinka. Proverbs, now I'm seeing those as well. Later on, I saw those associations. But I could write and then put in a proverb to kind of further elaborate on or further express or reaffirm what I was saying. No, you don't write. This is a language I grew up on. This is something that fed me growing up. You know, I mean, one cocoa, full basket. Why you can't write that? It is so absolutely profoundly true.
Of course.
So, but then do we know to be truth, and how we do not honor that truth by writing about it if we know that this is truth. And so that system of miseducation, because I was educated, granted, by third form, I declared to myself, and I keep saying that as a small child, some adult should have slapped me and put me down to sit down somewhere because I don't know why I was thinking so much. But by third form, I knew that was not going to be my way.
Good for you.
I knew that was not going to be my way. Me knows I can't go so. You know, I say tomatoes later on when I learned that song.
You all have an instinctively, or the ancestors are guiding us if we allow them to do so.
If we allow them.
Oh my God. There are certain things I'm looking back through my life that I'm beginning to appreciate a lot. And that is like Louise Bennett. Instinctively, I knew that she was someone of significance. And I invited her to Belize. She came to Belize and she presented and performed to a standing ovation.
Fabulous.
I just give thanks that I am obedient all the time. Right? I was been in my 20s or 30s when I did that. Invited her and it was amazing. Such a beautiful human being that when I asked her, she was just happy. She was just excited. And I was able to invite her along with another lady from Alabama, Billie Jean Young, who did the one-woman show of the life of Fannie Lou Hamer. Imagine the power of those two women to the nation of Belize. And I had the capacity at that time to get the US Embassy along with the Prime Minister of the country to treat these two women royally. Now, if I could do that in my 20s, then what can we not do in our eldership? So we as elders need to step up with boldness, with forthrightness, with intentionality in this year 2020.
Claim our position as elders in our community.
That's it. That's it. So Flavors, again, I want to thank you and Courtney for providing us with the space for this conversation and to take it beyond the conversation to a clarion call for all families in our communities and in our world to do this work. It's not just about Nana Lobafu. It's not just about Nana Carol. What's your Indigenous sister? Can I ask if you have one? If you don't, that's
Oh,
okay.
I have so many names, and Carol is fine. My mother gave that
All right.
name to me.
Okay,
The
it's okay, fine.
protocols.
It's fine.
Protocols.
However, what I wanted to say is that every single person is a treasure. Every single
Each
family.
person, everyone, interconnectedness. That's a powerful message that has come through for this year. Recognize our interconnectedness, because that's also tied to another message that came into space about asking, who are we as humans? What does it mean to be a human being? Because we are redefining that out of anything our imagination could manage. I wanted to say something just now. You mentioned Louise Bennett, and that's such a powerful reminder for me. Fairly recently, I became aware that in schools, they're using a particular book about Anansi.
Okay.
About Anansi. The book is written by somebody from Australia, New Zealand, Britain, somewhere like that. But we have so much that Louise Bennett has left here that we have to go teach a book. But here, my sister, now you're going to love this. In the book, guess what? You know, we say Brian Nancy, and Brian Tiger, and Brian Tukuma. You know what I'm saying in the book? Mr. Anansi.
Wow.
No, but we don't imagine how powerful that it is. That is moving Anansi away from us as family, as community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we don't realize how powerfully they're doing that. They're just sneaking it in there. And we're sitting down wrapping up. How on earth any book come from outside? Why the ship never burn up in the harbor, my sister? Because you see, never know. We don't know them something. We have to be more vigilant.
That's right. Yes, we do.
And I'm not promoting violence, but these they could be an atrocities. The divine have to intervene. This.
We have a lot of gems. We have a lot of gems that we need to begin. We really have a lot that we have left unattended. As you said, Nancy, the Governor General of Belize some years ago, Sir Calvin Young, was very insistent on. He wrote a play called Brian Nancy, and I was a Nancy in the play. And yes, this is before he became Governor General. And the point I'm making is that he did not compromise his situation when he became Governor General. And very interesting thing happening in Belize is that the now Governor General is a Maya leader, right? And I'm like, I was a bit uncomfortable with that in the beginning because I thought she was going to be compromising. But I'm proud to say that she has been able to use her positioning in a very unique way. I mean, it's just brilliant the way she's doing that. And I will ask you all for some guidance forward because one of our Indigenous leaders is going to come here to receive an OBE. Right? And I'm
sorry, so to receive, my sister, to receive what?
An OBE, Order of the British Empire.
Oh, okay, we got you.
And I'm like, okay, then how do we navigate this, you know? And it is calling on us to be creative in any space. That's what I'm looking at, in the sense that when the Prince William and Princess Kate came to Belize and was in the Garifuna space, right? My attitude was I don't want to have anything to do with that. I'm not going to be a part of that. That was my attitude initially. Ancestors woke me up 1 o'clock in the morning and told me, you better get there, right? So I said, okay, if you answer, so you must know what it is needs to be done. When I arrive in this space, protocols be aside, let me say, I entered in the space right beside Prince William and Princess Kate. But before they arrived in the space, I went to every Garifuna woman in the circle and I said, you're a queen, you are a queen, each of them. you know, and the little girls, princess, and prince. When they arrived in the school, I said to Prince William, you need to dance with us. He says, I don't know how to dance. I said, well, I'll teach you, we'll teach you. And I said, we are going to dance. You know why we're going to dance? Because of the atrocities that your ancestors did to us. It is a form of therapy and healing. Okay? And this dance that you're going to dance with us is a dance that is done in our healing ritual.
That's
It's
correct.
not a form of entertainment. Okay? So that's just an example of the creativity that we need to unearth because, as you rightly said, Sister Queen, everybody is needing this journey. No matter what color your eyes, no matter what color your skin, we have to break the cycle in a way that brings us together, speaking truth and relinquishing this toxicity.
I am again heartened by what you say and how it ties in again to some of the messages we've heard. We go from that space of oneness, and that space of oneness doesn't go anywhere, but it manifests itself as duality.
Absolutely.
In 2025, we're being invited to step more fully into a manifestation of oneness and duality. Step so much more fully into a space of multidimensionality. We've already started, but to embrace that. And at the same time, the miracle of all of that is that we're still doing all of that with a consciousness of oneness.
That's it. That's it.
And so if you want it in a linear way, which you know is not necessarily our spiritual way, we have more circular ways of looking at things from that point of view. But you can't, in space of multidimensional, you can't rule out the linear because it brings what it brings. So we're going from oneness, the oneness of creation, into the duality, this one, that one. Sometimes we know better than to look at them as polar opposites because we know they carry complementarity. But now to move into a space where we can look beyond this and find those meeting grounds and those intersectionalities.
Yes.
That allow us to become more robust as human beings walking the earth, to become more robust, manifesting and carrying out our responsibilities to sustain, because we participate so very powerfully in sustaining creation. We participate as a partnership. It's not God alone, the God force sitting there alone, the creator force sitting there alone. No, we're no part of this equation. We're one of the variables that don't give you an equal anything. We're one of the variables now in this equation. And so how do we not recognize that all roads will lead back to oneness, but oneness still has not gone anywhere, even with the roads we're traveling?
One love, one love. Flavors, you have anything to say or ask you or Courtney? We holding the mic.
Yes, and we can do this, but guy, let's because we have to, the divine masculine also helps to define divine feminine. So thank you for including that. You and I will talk.
We like to listen and learn.
That's a cop-out, Flavors.
No. It's not. But what you're saying is very serious. And what is happening now is that we're not looking at the simple things, simple solutions. We come up with some strange things that don't make sense, but it is first world and all these different things,
Yeah.
all these different things. In fact, I saw a clip this week where this guy is saying that we were duped, from the longest while, because we were told that living in the Caribbean, you know, where you have sunshine and the sea and mangoes and all that, it's a very negative thing.
Really?
You have to migrate to the north to really live.
Oh, yes.
To
And
be cold.
everybody is finding out that that is the total opposite. And
Well,
everybody
who's
want
for
to
the
come
north
this
is
way
for the
now.
north, but everybody can't be for the north. So what would happen to the rest of the earth? What would happen to the rest of creation?
Yeah, but you see, that's how they sell it, you see.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
and the irony of all of that is that they are the ones now coming back to
Exactly.
the islands as tourists and enjoying all of this sunshine on the beaches and everything.
Not only tourists, they're coming back to stay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
yeah,
They're
well,
coming to take
in
home.
actuality, now buying up our land.
Well, they're coming
That's
I
back to
right.
remember this. I
recolonize,
remember
not to
this
stay,
lady.
They're not coming back
Remember
to
this.
stay. No, don't use that word. They're coming back to recolonize. Let
Yeah,
us
well,
make
yeah,
that very
recolonize.
clear.
Yeah, recolonize. Yeah, I remember this lady from Canada who was working, I think, at the embassy. And when our posting finished and they were going to put her somewhere else, she resigned.
Really?
Said she's not going back up to live in the little cubicle. No, and she resigned and stay in Jamaica. She have big house and
Yep.
fresh air and
Yeah.
Mm.
And black servants.
Oh, of course,
Smart woman.
of
Yeah.
course,
Smart
of
woman.
course.
Let's not lose sight of what's happening here, because there are many ways that this could go if we sit down and don't do what we need to do.
That's
Many
right.
ways that this would go. People coming again,
But
and no, they're not
what you're
just
saying
clearing
is
the land and
so.
planting a thing, but they're handing out money, because this is now the nature of the space today.
Yeah, but what you're saying
Coming
is
to own
so.
businesses, to set up businesses, but who are the workers?
Yeah, what you're saying is so real, and it's more dangerous than we even can think about, because we
Because
were
it's
colonized by the
insidious.
British and the Spanish and whatever, but now we have colonizers everywhere we turn.
That's right.
Yeah, the Chinese.
We're even colonizing ourselves.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's, mm.
And if
Well,
we don't
I'm
careful,
very
we can lose ourselves completely.
I'm hopeful to this, and that's why we are having this conversation. That when I look at the leaders of the past who did so much with so little, I'm thinking of universality of someone like Marcus Garvey, for
Oh
example.
yeah, but his
When we
name
go to
always comes up. Yeah.
in Belize, we actually have leaders and buildings and land that has been untouched
Yeah.
because of the movement by Garvey,
Mm-hmm.
NIA. We actually have a building in Belize, the Liberty Hall, where Marcus Garvey, we have the room where Marcus Garvey slept. So that is still there. I mean, nothing stops us from renovating and reconnecting that. I was excited yesterday. I was reading a book about these loggers that were sent to Scotland, and one of the things that fascinated me about them was that those who stayed behind built and reconnected. So many of our people are all over the world. Diaspora is not just United States and Canada. So what is enlightening me by being here is that we could actually begin to identify the experiences of those of our people who left either deliberately or unintentionally, or whatever shape or form. So we have a lot of work to do in 2025 to identify the strengths of our people. I'm learning that we had Black millionaires in Belize, a whole island was owned by this man who wrote the national anthem for the country, and so on and so on. So it's for us to begin to put the pieces together and to share among ourselves and to set up a new curriculum.
Right,
Obviously,
exactly.
we need to fling away the old one.
Well,
And
we
really
need to
begin.
throw away a lot that was designed for us, but not by us.
not
yeah,
by
but
us.
throw out
we have
a
to,
lot of those
where we
things.
have to start is in the schools,
Well,
which we're not doing.
That's it. Well, we can, you know, I love Jamaica in the sense of Jamaica was a foundation builder for me when I went to university. I went to nursing school there, and I could have come to England, and I'm thankful I went to Jamaica first. And what I learned, like at university, you all had Professor Rex Nettleford, and what I remember about him was that he defined the community as the classroom. He said that there were many stories, there were many songs, there were many folkways that were being done in the yard and in the homes and in the communities. I never forgot that thing. That inspired me in my style of organizing, that it doesn't have to happen in a building or in an institution called school. We are the school. And
life is the school.
one of the things about Garifuna is that I was taught from very young, do not trust that thing called school. I mean, I swear to you too, whenever we came, our parents debriefed us. They asked us, so what did you learn? You know? And so we had to tell them what we learned, and they clarified for us. And my grandfather sat us at his feet. My cousins, I thought they were my brothers and sisters. And grandfather would tell us about what was happening in the Caribbean. He ordered the Daily Gleaner. Imagine that man was ahead of his time. I just learned recently that the people who went to England, the loggers, left Belize through Trinidad. I didn't know that. We had a link with Trinidad. I'm just beginning to learn that our enslaved people came through Jamaica. So all of these pieces we need to put together. We have a lot of work to do, you know, Flavor. So let me assign you for this year to begin to interview these people who can help us to put the pieces together.
Definitely.
And put our history book through families. You know, we look at the last names of
That's
our
right.
family and see where we related. Mama G told me she has to come back to Belize because her people came from Belize, you know? So clearly we are already connected, as you're saying, sis. And it's for us to put the pieces of the puzzle on our table and begin to put them together, you know?
That's right.
That could be the 2025 assignment.
And that you speak the words, well, you're saying the same that one of our deities has taught in this house. We have a deity we call, is that from the pantheon of deities we call him Nana Akumanini Adade. And he says, everybody has a piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
When we come together and we put the pieces together is when we see the beauty.
That's it.
Is when we see the life. We got a message some years ago, not too long, 2-3 years ago, at the same space of the new Gregorian year, in that space. And it's important for us to point out that we're not talking about indigenous calendars. At this point in time, we were wishing Happy New Year. We're talking about the Gregorian calendar. We always laugh about that calendar where you have, you know, somebody calling a month August because them they jealous of them brother have a month named July after them. I mean, really? So July was named for Julius Caesar, and Augustus Caesar decided he must have a month named after him, hence August.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know why that doesn't leave me. But in this time and in this space, we really need to, again, recognize this interconnectedness because it is going to be a powerful tool for our survival. The message that came said we need to walk away from religions and more fully embrace spirituality. And I suspect, if I may use that kind of a word, that it is an invitation for us to go back to oneness because it is in spirit that we're all one.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Totally agree with that.
alignment.
I am heartened by some
Precise.
things you've mentioned, my sister. The mention of Stonehenge speaks to ancient wisdom, ancient knowledge that many people are becoming very disrespectful of. You know, that's old thinking, that's old ways, without looking at the value that these old ways carried. We had legal systems that were workable.
Exactly.
Because they were not punitive, they were about more restorative.
Absolutely.
I say in my conversations that our spiritual system didn't require the establishment of a devil, because our spiritual system didn't provide for the way we thought and now still think, didn't provide for human beings to be condemned,
Exactly.
didn't provide for human beings to be robbed of their humanity in any way, not be recognized. So we have situations where personhood was threatened, damaged, but for us, we didn't see that the consequence of that had to be a burning in an internal fire. We saw and we think and we do believe that there is a God who accepts that if we can see the wrong of our ways, and if we can do the work that it is needed to do to restore honor to our own spirit, restore honor to the spirit of those we have caused harm or offense or whatever it is, if we kind of find a way to bring ourselves back into the embrace of community, we don't need a hell, we don't need a devil. Hence, our spiritual systems do not have a devil, they do not have a hell. We have systems and mechanisms for appeasement, for restoring honor among people, for restoring us to the embrace of community, but not to isolate a human being or human beings and put them in some no, we don't have that. But the people who needed that, and you can't blame them, if they need it, they need it. If they need that, then they create it for themselves. We must realize what is ours and what ours contains, how ours is structured, what we provide for, because this very provision or lack of a provision for something mandates you. How can you go out now and behave like somebody who deserves to be burnt in fire if we don't have that concept at all present? You can't go out and behave like somebody who needs to go to hell. We don't have that. That's not part of how we have defined who we are as a people. But at the same time, we have to leave people alone because people have sovereignty. That God gave us choice, all of us, to design what they want in their systems, knowing who they are.
That's right.
And so I take your point so very much about moving forward into being who we are. I take that point very, very powerfully because it just aligns with all that I've heard, not just now, but even before, because these messages have been coming for a time. We need to stop seeing ourselves in religious spaces that chooses to isolate and divide rather than unite and pull together. One of our deities here talk about community. He says it's an invitation to come into unity. That's all it is, to come together.
That's important.
Unity. Forming consensus about various aspects of life, various ways of being, setting up the protocols. So we're all clear as to how we work with each other and how we work with all of creation, because we are part of a vast entity called creation. I love the Stonehenge conversation because it reminds me so much of ancient knowledge and ancient wisdom. Stonehenge was built some 3,000 or something years before the Common Era BCE. So we're talking about even without some things being present, coming into place, and we had the knowledge.
We did
Indigenous
have it.
peoples had the knowledge, had the foresight, had the wisdom to have put this there for us today to be able to look at and make meaning from it.
Exactly. So we have to just embrace it again and just take the leadership and offer that to the world and to ourselves, because we have everything that we need to have a world that is peaceful and loving in the midst of all else that is going on. You know,
That's
we
correct.
need to and not be distracted by all that other noise that's taking place.
So I honor you, my sister, as a fellow, divine, sacred
I do too, my love. I just
Come on.
appreciate it. And we've had a very awesome exchange, I think, giving people a lot of food for thought and action. It's not just, we're not just talking, you know, and wherever spirit will lead me, I will follow. Wherever spirit leads you, I'm sure you will follow.
Indeed,
And
without a doubt.
Yeah, each of us has a calling to respond to.
Yes, willingly and respectfully.
Right, Flavius and Courtney?
Yes, I think some of us too are still searching.
Yeah, it's a search. It's an ongoing
You need to
journey.
close out the searching now.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah,
Or it's not going to look good for you. You see this 9
Yeah,
years
well, that's
that we're in, you have to complete the searching.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Start creating something from that foundation. That's the invitation that you're getting from a year like 2025, okay?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. But definitely, I just
A
like
word to the wise. Let's say a word to the wise.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to say something, not being negative or pessimistic, but what do you think about this threat of modern technology, meaning artificial intelligence, and our indigenous way of life, our living, just throwing it out there, just for a little bit, because I think we should have that conversation too.
Life for me is all about balance, whatever is allowed is useful in the sense that there are things that we can use, tools that we are being offered, that if it aligns with our spiritual discernment, then we can use it, like we are using a gadget called telephone, computer, laptops, and all those things. And that doesn't mean that we don't participate with mechanisms. I had an interesting conversation with my granddaughter a few days ago. When I was 10 years old, I wanted to be an astronaut. And I remember declaring to my parents and siblings that they didn't say to me, well, girl, shut up about where will I get the money for you to go and be an astronaut? They just said, like, okay. So it was very important for me to get that response from them in the sense that at that time they used to have us sit down and listen to the world news. The BBC was talking about man going to the moon and landing on the moon and all of that kind of thing. So my response to the question is the need to be aware of what's going on. We don't need to be ostrich in the sand, but then to see the extent to which we will engage in that conversation. So now my granddaughter tells me she wants to be an astronaut. And I find that amazing because I never had a conversation with her about what I'm sharing with you. So how is it like spirit and the universe is very intricate and amazing because somehow this child has picked up somewhere about this technology and this desire that I had many years ago. Many things don't need a definition. Many things just need awareness. And in the awareness, we decide how we are going to engage, if we are going to engage. I remember like with the Garifuna, during the World War, Garifuna were recruited in secret movements, the use of our language in sending codes across the world using the Garifuna language. So it's a matter of choice and where we find ourselves in the world. That's how I see it.
And I'm glad you brought that because that happened in so many of our ancestral spaces where our languages were commanded and utilized in these places of genocide, because that's what they were, places of genocide for our people. We're fighting battles that even had nothing to do with us and dying in these spaces. And they're taking what we had. When they enslaved us, our language was taken, but now it was useful to them, so it was okay.
That's right. And the other thing that I was with a midwife from Hawaii a couple months ago. She came and visited me. And I was so fascinated because she was telling me that the way they do birthing in Hawaii has to do with the whales and the sonar waves. I don't know how that works, but I know in my spirit how it works, okay? And to me, it made a lot of sense, because these technologies are sometimes wanting to imitate indigenous way of being. I tell my daughter, one time I was in Guyana and I was going through some challenges. And in those days, we didn't have WhatsApp and all that kind of technology. But my dad sensed something was going on with me and he called me and he said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, Dad." I said, "But how do you know?" And he told me, "Well, I just sensed it. So we then designed a thing we call the coconut wireless, right? Our people have the capacity that goes beyond these technologies. These
That's correct.
technologies sometimes want to imitate what we knew long before them, okay?
Right.
So I think that that's another area that we need to look and see the extent to which we have always had the capacity to deal with technology. I mean, just look at the pyramids. Come to Belize and look at the pyramids, and you'll be I mean, when I was at Stonehenge, I was wondering what manner of people were these that were able to do this kind of architecture and haul these big rocks and put them together that they're still in existence today. So
Moving
we need
together.
to delve into our capacity that we have always had. Is nothing new under the sun. It's them discovering what we had and putting the label and the patent and the whatever on it. We have examples around the world of indigenous knowledge, the Dovon people, and the caves and the markings. These people were flying plane and doing all kinds of things long before these people claim that they're doing it. No, we've been doing it. I have Garifuna women in one of our rituals. Usually when we do our rituals, you kind of dream how you're going to design the clothing or whatever. And
Yes.
some of the women designed the clothing and they'd never physically been to Africa. Now you tell me, how is it that this woman in
Me
Belize,
teacher, I can tell you. Spirit at work, my sister. Spirit at work.
So you get we have such amazing capacity that we have to stop second guessing ourselves
Indeed.
and our children and our village. You have in Suriname, people from Harvard, doctors from Harvard University go to the rainforest in Suriname. They can't figure out how the Surinamese, the indigenous Maroons, can do bone setting and deal with any bone challenge that you may want to find out. They know it. And the doctors, the so-called experts, don't know. They come and try to study and learn from the Maroons in Suriname. We have a gentleman in Bali, a healer I was reading the other day. People come from all over the world to meet with him, and there's nothing that he cannot cure, and he does not charge. There are certain principles that go with our way of being, that it's not a monetary, individualistic,
Correct.
competitive, dog-eat-dog way of being. So I tell people, I was looking at this Elon Musk, and I'm not talking politics right now, okay? But I was just looking at him and I listened to him in fascination because this man just dares to be and to do. It's not, and he says nothing so extra about me. And when he speaks about the challenges he went through in life, he was the least likely to become and do what he is doing right now,
That's correct.
So we just have to be and interact with these things, these happenings. There's nothing new under the sun, and let the sun, the moon, and the stars be our guide.
You know, I wanted to comment a little bit from my space on the conversation of technology, because there's an aspect that I really kind of resonate with, and the aspect of always looking to see how technology is shaping and forming us and our community. We always have to be vigilant about that. Technology, for me, is not negative, it's not positive, it's how you allow it to shape and form you and your community. It's how you allow it to remove from you while you're getting certain eases to some really kind of convenient way of dealing with knowledge. How does it allow you, for example, to not greet each other physically with the hugs and the physical embraces that we know are healing? In our spaces, we can touch each other and heal each other. We can hug each other and our spirits are joyful. You can touch somebody's face and say, "Oh my gosh, it is so good to see you." You can feel energy from somebody the way you cannot feel it, for example, if you're on a device. When our technology starts removing us from the ways, our cultural ways, and I'm using cultural because I'm not just talking about spiritual, I'm talking all our ways, but all our ways are spiritual anyway, that allow us to attain those higher selves, that higher level of consciousness, that greater good that we are seeking, then we have to be very careful about how we embrace that technology. My thing in this time and space is that we're not doing that due diligence. We're just taking everything. Taking everything that comes.
Yeah. When I had my
not investigating to see the impacts, the real impacts. We're not looking at that 7th generation and says, if we adopt this now, how will the 7th generation be? Right. That's where I am with that, Courtney. But I have nothing against the technology. I've been playing with AI a little bit. I realize that AI has a whole heap of erroneous information, because there's some things I know that I know. And what is so funny is when I say to AI, this is not correct, they go back, "Oh, well, we're so sorry. You're really correct." So here's the correct information. I'm saying, okay, right.
When I had my last baby, I had my last child in the US, and I had to do ultrasound, you know. And then I was asking them, what is that for? And then I was refusing to do the ultrasound. And we had a fight, needless, you know. And then, so I asked them, what this for and how does it work? I was asking a lot of questions. And so the nurse doctor said to me, "Do you want to run the hospital? Why are you asking so more
You should
questions?"
say yes.
I told them yes. I said, "Sure."
That's my sister. You'd bring some things in there, they'd be amazed. Yeah. You see, another thing with how indigeneity collides with modernity. In indigenous spaces, prevention goes before. Prevention goes before. There's some things you do that you don't need an MRI. You don't need those things. You don't need ultrasound. You don't need, because you've already put some things in place to ensure that some certain things happen. So you don't need to be looking in the woman's womb. No, the rituals that are needed are already done. Prevention. It goes in front, it doesn't follow.
Exactly. They wanted me to do an epidural, right? I said, epi who what? I have had so many children already. They said, so that you don't feel the pain. I want to feel the pain, because how will I know how this child is interacting with my body? And they were trying to force me to do the epidural. And just as they were bringing the contractions, then the child came forth. So it's the point about what you're making about being aware is so important.
Yeah. I know this conversation can go on and on and on, but I just have to go.
The time has come.
Beautiful.
Yes, the time.
In closing, though, Courtney, could you allow me? Sister Cynthia brought up a very, very touching point for me earlier when she talked about the loggers of Belize. And it brought me to a space in time when I discovered that the plantation crop of Belize was not sugar like in Jamaica, but it was in fact mahogany.
That's right.
It was mahogany. When I was part of the Carry Folk Singers, we learned this song. We knew very clearly that it was from Belize. Mahogany de figo cut down, mahogany fi hall and roll.
Oh, I like that. Yes. That's
Mahagani
great.
tepika katango, mahagani fi hall and roll. With your kitty pack and your bickle in your sack, come go back the bush. With your packety pack and your hurricane lamp, come go back the bush. Come go back the bush for me, gal. Come go back. Come go back the bush, little gal. Come go back.
That's good. I love it. Thank you so
Okay.
I
much.
love that song so much. So, you know,
No,
the
Okay.
loggers and all of those who were, you know, engaged in that system that was not really our best space and our best time. But that we're going to make it so. We're going to make it so powerful that us today stand here. And recently I found myself saying, I stand here today because somebody stood here yesterday.
That's it. Reme, thank you. Chilowanda, the time has come.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Julia, they put that. Okay. So Flavius, are you there?
Yes,
Okay,
ladies.
so
We're sorry didn't have the other two ladies, but I guess we weren't planning for a compound and what else happened, you know. But I think this was brilliant. And
Who is here? He was to be here.
we do have a good idea what we need to do for 2025. Because we have to move forward. We have to keep moving. We have to keep moving. Keep getting back what we have lost. Bringing it back to us doing things, you know. Because we got very lazy. People write things for us, they do things for us, and we just sit there and just take everything, we accept everything, you know. It's amazing. But now people are getting up and saying, let's do things. Garfunas, the Maroons, the Tainos, and everybody getting up now and saying, who are we, you know? We need to live our life. And most importantly, I think we need to write about us, about our story. I mean, too many things have been written are about us, for us, and we just accept. They gave us independence, they gave us X and Y and self-government and all these different things. We have nothing that we own. Time we start owning our life now. But thank you, little ladies, tremendously. But we will have to get this hit going again pretty soon. Pretty soon.
Yes, thank you.
And
Thank you.
just to remind you folks, 2025, it's 5 years for the Real Stuff podcast.
Woo! Mop, 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 mop.
Yep.
Congrats.
I think we have passed the test of time. Now we can, you know, we can sit down and say, yes, we will go on. We are here. We are here for the long haul. We are here to stay.
That's right.
And all I have to do with you ladies and all the other people like you who come on and speak with us has been tremendous. But you'll hear more about what's going to happen in this year, our 5 years.
Celebration.
And just to let them a little more out, we have a number of things. We have our radio station, Regular Nostalgia, which is 20 years this year. And of course, Slowly Jamaica, which is 25 years this year.
Whoa. You're into the fives this year.
Yeah, we are into the 5 this year. All about the 5s. So thank you again, Courtney.
yes,
Anything you ladies want to say to close off? Cynthia?
No, I just want to say it will be a beautiful and powerful year. We declare it and decree it and step into it.
Oh yes, definitely. Sophia?
I just want to say that for me, it's a wonderful time to be alive.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I pray that we will all be fit and ready to create the reality that we want to see as the world around us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Courtney, all over to you now.
Yeah, well, just thanks. This is a wonderful year for us and other people, I think, and as we have this conversation about spirit, so, we just have to allow the spirit to work within us and to give us the guidance and direction that is needed. So, my expectation is that we'll be having this wonderful year. So thank you. And on behalf of the Real Stuff podcast, that's bye for now. So we'll talk soon and continue this conversation, okay?
Okay, then we
Thank
will.
you.
Greetings again, my sister. We part in peace and in love.
Love.
You lead us so full. You belong far away away. Ajugwala lebo buseru. Lida mua, lida sungfula. Lida mua, lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know what set me up and go flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi hide like a thief in the night. Me I fi get out of sight. Me I fi take away myself. I fi take away myself. I have to utilize I will.